Good afternoon, everyone. So here we are, BODS, week 2, our webinar. Um, so this has been a very interesting week. I've gotten to talk to a lot of you, and I've gotten to hear a lot of challenges that are going on, and some discouragement, and people that are just really wondering, how do I be bold? How can I be bold when I'm not seeing changes? And the first thing I want to say is, let's not forget, we are now 10 days into this. Um, the change has to happen in the mind. That's really where it all has to happen, first and foremost. So I'm going to get right into what's going on. Um, One of the things I brought up this week was to be bold and to really take a look at what is your normal. What does normal look like to you? Because for some people, their normal really is a pitfall. It's really stopping short from letting them really move past what it is they want to move past. So this whole idea of what's my normal is a great way to really look at our lives and say, okay, what's going on? Is this normal for me? Because if it is, I don't want this to be normal for me anymore. And that's when it takes bold action to really take action and change that up. So let's start with some of the stuff. These are the reflections from the blog. And at any time, all you have to do is either raise your hand if you're on your computer. If you're on your phone, unfortunately, you won't be able to really interact with me, but you're able to hear all this. But if you're on your computer, just talk to me and let me know if you have anything to say. So the first thing that came up on the blog this week was that I fear my power. And I always laugh when people say this concept of I'm afraid of success. I don't think in the end we're ever really afraid of success. I think we're afraid that even if we get successful, we'll lose it. So the idea of I fear my power, I don't think that's as accurate as the words would imply. I don't think it's power that we fear. I think it's we don't know how to use it. We're afraid we don't know how to use it, or we're afraid that even if we get it, we would somehow lose it for some reason. So that's that one. I want to give myself permission to feel what I'm feeling. I've talked to a number of people this week that are in this program, and they're in this program from all over the country. So it's really been great to talk to a number of people and see, what's happening for them. And one of the things that came up was this idea that so many of the participants in this program talk about instead of feeling what they're feeling, they're kind of eating their feelings. Michelle in Philadelphia talked about that to me. And we have to be willing to feel our feelings, but that's when the boldness comes in. Are we willing to feel what we feel and be with it and not do something to stop the feeling, to be daring enough, to be fearless enough to actually feel what we feel and not act out, not do something detrimental to my body or my mind or my soul. So I loved the person, whoever wrote, I want to give myself permission to feel what I'm feeling. And that goes right into the idea of breaking old patterns. Are you willing to break old patterns when you notice it? One of the texts I got this week that said, I'm still eating like a truck driver. Well, I understand that, but that's a pattern. Are you willing to break it? If you notice it, are you willing to actually say, okay, this is a pattern? And actually just calling the pattern out. This is a pattern, and this pattern does not work for me. Even though the pattern is soothing me, comforting me, stuffing my feelings and my emotions down, it's giving me something to use to turn away from it. Well, we got to stop turning away from what we need to deal with it, and then break those patterns down. And it goes right into, sometimes you have to establish good patterns. You have to establish habits, good ones that actually work for you. All of my programs are about this idea that in 21 days, you can create a habit. And in 30 days, you can create a neural pathway. And a neural pathway is that ridge between the desire and the demonstration in your mind. It is a biological fact that there are these wavelengths in your mind, these waves that literally etch into your brain and cause the things you cause in your life. So a neural pathway just means here's what I want to do, and I'm going to focus my mind to do it for 30 days. Because by the end of 30 days, if I stay to the course, I will land where I'm supposed to land. So that's really what we're doing here too. Are we willing to, really absolutely create these habits? And are we willing to not only create the habits, but are we willing to look at the patterns and the habits that don't work and eliminate them? And here's how you eliminate them. Find a habit that does work for you and focus on that. So let's just say you're a wine drinker at night. At night you drink, 3, 4 glasses of wine at night. Okay, that's going to add on the pounds, and it's not going to do a great thing for your body. So what do? Instead of just trying to give something up, and I know I have a note coming up soon from one of you about that, instead of just giving something up, focus on what you could do. What's something positive you could do that would literally take you away from that and create a habit that actually supports you? That's really what we're talking about here. So next page. These are some issues. And this was a question. This was a great question. Is knowing who I am really the key to changing issues? Is knowing who I am really the key to changing issues? Well, okay, here's a question for you. If you felt that you were a loser, don't you think that would affect everything you do in your life? Really, if you just thought, oh, I'm such a loser, I never get anything right, don't you think people that feel that way about themselves literally step into the room, step into the world, step into their life from that knowing, from them knowing who they are, self-fulfilling prophecies when we know who we are? Well, the answer then is yes. When I know who I am, it's the key to changing all of my issues. When I know that I am greatness on demand, and that spells God, and forget the religious side of it, just the energy of the universe. When I know that I am a creative force, this creative energy, then, well, there's just no way that I can't come into a room from that perspective, that energy. So can it clear up my issues? Yeah, because when I know who I am, when I really know who I am, I'm not going to behave this way. It's all about behavior too. I'm not going to behave this way when I know who I am. Okay, moving on. I want to not feel fat and chunky, and I want my clothes to fit better. So I put this in here. This is one of the things that came up on the blog this week. I put this in here because we all have some version of that. I think we all have a version of I want to not feel fat and chunky, and I want to fit in my clothes better. So whatever yours is, there's yours. So let me look up here because Nancy Joe just wrote in, what advice do you have for dealing with people around you who aren't ready to shift with you, but they realize I have? That's a good question. Actually, you know what, Nancy Joe? That's actually going to come up. I think I might have your question coming up. So just sit with that for 1 second. And let me finish this idea of, what is yours? I don't want this to be, I want this. First part of this is, let's get rid of the I don't want to be this, and let's focus more on this is who I choose to be. I want my clothes to fit better. Rather than I want my clothes to fit better, I fit into all of my clothes beautifully. And even though and I'm not saying we should ever pretend things aren't the way they are. I'm not at all. Most of you know me. You know that I am very much into seeing things exactly the way they are. So when you're looking at this, I want to not feel fat and chunky. Okay. Can you not feel fat and chunky even when you look in the mirror and see a fat and chunky body? The answer to that question is yes. Yes, you can. And it has to be yes, because if it's not, then the world of form is actually directing me. And that's just not the way it works. I am directing the world of form. Okay? So, in order for you to really deal with whatever issues you have that you want to change, you have to be willing to know the truth about that issue, which is what practitioners do all the time. Okay? So go to the bottom one now. I like what you are going to do to change, not what are you going to give up to change. So it really is perspective. Are we willing to turn our attention to what we want? Turn our attention to knowing who I am, not what I'm not. I'll say that again because I liked hearing it myself. Turning our attention to knowing who I am, not what I'm not. And again, this whole program is literally about focusing on who you truly are and not allowing your mind to keep creating the same old based on what you keep telling it you're not and keep telling it you are when it's not a good thing. Okay? So let's move on to these beliefs. So I have a belief that I'm boring, but God is not boring. I loved putting that on here because boring came up a few times. A number of people said that they were boring, which is interesting. But I love that you answered the question yourself, whoever wrote this. I have a belief that I'm boring, but God is not boring. So then you are not boring. I am not boring. With the infinite scope of the universe as my mind, how on earth could I be boring? Believe me, that's just an old tape playing out. The next one, I want to use healthy food as enjoyment. Well, this came up this week a number of times from people. And I want to tell you this. Whoever has sold us the bill of goods that health food is it tastes bad, hasn't had any health food lately because no one was more interested in sugar than me. I love my sugar. I love sweets. I love candy. I love chocolates. I love ice cream. I love all that stuff. Do I eat much of it now? No, I really don't, because I found other things that taste just as good but that are really healthy for me. So let's all disabuse ourselves of the notion that we're going to be depriving ourselves, by eating things that are healthy for us. No, no, I think we're all in ruts based on what I see people eating over and over and over again. And I love that last sentence too. I will not die if I'm hungry for a while. That's such a great thing to get into your mind, to be able to say to yourself, you know what? So I'm hungry. I'm not going to die. The other night, um, I hadn't had a chance to really eat a really full, substantial dinner, and then I had to run into a class and teach for 3 hours. And when I got out of class, it was 10:30, and I was hungry. And I was thinking, and it was like 10:30, and I got home by like 11:30, and I was like, oh, I really should eat a meal. I'm really starving. And then I thought about this quote. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to die going to bed a little hungry. Actually, it'll be better. So I had a cup of tea with some lemon and some turmeric and went to bed. I woke up the next morning. Was I still hungry? Yeah, but it was a good hungry, because then I could have my oatmeal, go for my jog. So, it's all about how are you going to really use your mind? So I put daring at the top of this because we've been using these words this week. So I need to close the gap between what I want and what I think I can have. Okay, I want you all to think about what you are literally intending for this 30 days. And I want you to be clear with yourself. Do you believe you can have it? Do you believe you can have it? Because it's one thing to just want it and to keep consistently saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to have happen in my life. But we really do, and I love the way this was posed, close the gap between what you want and what you think you can have. And you know what? Be daring enough, be absolutely daring enough to ask yourself, what do I think I can have? Where is my ceiling? Do I have a ceiling here? Because if I do, I want to deal with it. Okay? And then one of you wrote that your body word was neglected. And I'm really knowing for all of us here that there is absolutely no neglecting going on when it comes to people and their bodies. That you truly, truly, truly are not neglecting your bodies. So, signed up for a tap dancing class to increase my exercise. Marilee, I bet you laughed when you saw that, but I knew it wasn't you because you're already in a tap dancing class. But that was one of the things I talked about this week. And we're going into this weekend with this concept of fun, fun, fun. So find out where you're passionate. Find out where your passion is, or even your quixotic interest. Even something like maybe you've never taken a tap dancing class, or maybe you've never gone salsa dancing, or maybe you've never gone fishing. I don't know. But give yourself the opportunity. Again, in this infinite world, why would we ever settle for anything other than the best we could come up with in any given moment? Okay, now this one, big one. Oops, nope, go back. Perhaps I don't need to dig deeper. This came up on someone's blog partly because of something I said, but I want to point this out for all of us. We're doing a lot of work, and we're doing excavation work, and we're finding beliefs and all of that. But in truth, um, you don't have to dig deeper. In truth, if you could, but put your mind and focus it on the truth of who you are and what you want, then the digging can stop. If it comes up, if you're willing to look at it and move it along, then yeah, you don't have to dig deeper. It really is all very subjective for each of you. You know if you still have work to do. And you also know if you've done so much work, you just would rather, dust than do any more work. And then just know that you can still just know the truth, and that's going to do it. I want to fall in love with the process and not beat myself at any step along the way. Again, this is a process. This is a process. And to think, let me put it this way, because I want to answer this the way I had it in my mind to answer. I think a lot of people sabotage themselves by becoming discouraged with what they're seeing so quickly, and that discouragement is actually a sabotaging tool to give them the permission to go back to what they were doing before. And if we fall in love with the process, suddenly it's a year later and our whole world has changed, but we haven't been, putting it under a microscope at all times, because we literally understand the process is the life, is the fun, is the adventure. So give that some thought if you may be one of those people that feel that way. Okay, letting people derail our intentions. Now I'm to you, Nancy Jo Purdue. Letting people derail our intentions with their logic. So here's the thing. We are all spiritual warriors. We are all in this to grow, to expand, and frankly, we're in this to continue to ask ourselves, is this what I want to do? As Thomas Troward said, my entire purpose of life is to enjoy life. So if my purpose is to enjoy life, then, well, I need to ask myself at times, does this person bring me joy? Or ask myself over here, does this job bring me joy? Does this activity bring me joy? Does this enhance me, or does this distract from me or take away from me? And you just have to be very clear that the people around you, if they are not supporting you, you need to take your mind elsewhere, take your attention elsewhere. Now, if you're in an office situation, there are people that are, people aren't ready to shift with you, as Nancy put on her question just now. Well, you can't change people. You can only change yourself. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but we are not responsible for the things people do, for the ways people behave. And there will also be people, as in what's written on the blog, that have great intentions and that start telling you logically what you can and cannot do. But remember, we're not about relative logic. And I mean that relative logic, like our logic from our relatives. We're not about relative logic. We're about spiritual logic, and nothing is out of the realm of possibility with that. Okay, my disappointment around the state of my body is not serving me. Good, it shouldn't. Let's turn away from that disappointment. I never get caught up, and I doubt that I ever will. Dealing with overwhelming days, these kind of go together. So it's so easy on an overwhelming day, and I know that we all have them, to suddenly not take care of ourselves. I had a day today that was really, really busy. I think you all know I'm in rehearsals for this play that is, it's quite an undertaking. And, but I knew what my day was going to be like, and I knew that I could go into overwhelm, but I also made sure that I had myself set up so that I was taken care of, and so that I took care of myself. And the idea of never getting caught up and always being so busy that I don't have time to take care of me, that is a misnomer, and that is a belief we've bought into. And as busy as I am, and most of you know how busy I am, I can still take care of myself and make sure my health is my priority. So that's a decision. This is a decision whether or not you are going to make you your priority and do what needs to be done at any given time. Okay, I can do it, but I can't sustain it. That was one of the beliefs that came up. again, this is a process, and it's a lifestyle, and it's a way of living your life. It's not, you are not in this program, and if you are, um, you and I need to talk. You're not in this program to just lose weight or just change a dress size or just whatever. You are in this program because if you change your mind and your consciousness and suddenly become so clear with who you are, everything changes in your life, not just your body, the form that your body is in, but the body of your finances, the body of your relationships, the body of your creative expression. All that we call body of life changes. Greatness, that's what is at the top of this page. The greatness that you are literally moves and morphs into every area of your life. So why wouldn't you be able to sustain it? There's nothing to sustain. There's only something to be. Think about that. I don't have to sustain this. I live this. It's living me. It's who and what I am. We already talked a little bit about this when eating healthy meant suffering and going without. Yeah, it did. In many, many ways it did. And as you can tell, I'm not about the diets, and I'm not about depriving myself of anything. By the way, when I said I love ice cream and I love all this stuff, occasionally I will have some ice cream. Very rarely now, because I've actually come to love coconut ice cream, which has no dairy in it, and there's hardly any fat in it. So I don't deprive myself. I do not. Most of you who know me know I'm not someone who would deprive himself of anything, but I can certainly make better choices, right? And I love this last thing here. I have been shopping in an empty store for so long. I just thought that was so clever. I've been shopping in an empty store for so long. Metaphysically speaking and metaphorically speaking, our minds have been thinking from an empty store for a very long time. We have been thinking from a store that is filled with out-of-date beliefs and out-of-date ideology and out-of-date ideas about ourselves from the past. So it really is time, more than time, way past time, to be doing exactly what we say we want to do. So this is my truth for the weekend for you. Thought patterns create body issues. Thought patterns create body issues. Any issues you have, any body issues you are having, are nothing more than the reflection of thought patterns. And they show you what your normal is, what your norm is. So take a look at your thought patterns. Really, really stay on top of what you're thinking, why you're thinking it. You know, I had a thought today about something to do with my show, and I went, wow, do I want to live out that? And I thought to myself, no, I don't. I don't want to live out that. And it was becoming so overwhelming to me at one moment. I was like, am I having fun? Am I having fun right now? And the answer was no. So I literally threw myself on the floor and started laughing and had some fun. And then I went back to it and I had fun. I had fun. And that's what this weekend is all about. So your thought patterns left unchecked and left unaltered literally create not only body issues, let's just say the body issues as they affect the body of your life, all of your life. So this is what you saw in one of the last blogs from our week. I live my new normal. What is going to be your new normal? What's your new normal going to be as far as this life that you are living, and that is living you? So all of you that are on right now, if you have any questions to ask me, this is the time to do it. We have 5 minutes left, and I would love to answer any questions you may have for me. If not, I certainly have more I will talk about, but I really do want this to be as interactive as possible. I was actually considering doing this and letting everybody's video camera be seen, including mine, so we could actually all talk. But ultimately, I think there's going to be a lot more people on this once we get this clear. So I don't think I want everybody showing up. So if you have anything to ask me, go ahead and type it in. I think the only ones that can do that are Bonnie, Jan, Juana, Lori, and Nancy. So if any of you have anything to ask me, have at it. Because I can talk a little bit more about this idea of normal, which it's one of the things that comes from Thomas Troward. And he talks about the law of tendency. Do y'all know what that is, the law of tendency? It's how your mind tends to think, how your mind tends to believe and rationalize. And we all have some way that our mind tends to behave, tends to act, tends to figure things out, all coming from beliefs, of course. So the law of tendency means that how your mind tends to comprehend what's going on is how the universe gives you what it is that tendency is bringing forth. Another way of saying this is this idea of normal. What is your normal? And so um, there's a really good question to ask. How do I tend to react? How do I tend to think? What's the general atmosphere of my mind? Nancy just wrote, I just want to say this is so cool. This is what I call fun. I do too. I love this. I mean, I'm new to webinars and I'm new to Zoom and doing this. I teach through Zoom all the time. As many of you know, Laurie, you're on most of my classes on Zoom, but I've never done it this way where I get to sit at the computer. I always have an assistant do that. So I find this fun too. So as we go into this weekend, the directive for the weekend is to have fun. The directive for the weekend is to really allow yourself to, what is that quote I was using? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, every one of us is Jack today, and so the question is, are we going to enjoy our weekend? And that doesn't mean to enjoy it, to not do anything, unless that's your idea of having fun for the weekend because you work so hard during the week. I don't know. For me, I know what my weekend is. I'm going to see an opening night tonight, and I'm going to have a really great, fun weekend. I'm going to be rehearsing. I do church on Sunday, which is so much fun every single Sunday for me. So there's your chance. There's your opportunity to go and have a most amazing, amazing weekend. The directive is to have fun. The directive is to take your mind, focus it on what expands your life, and then allow yourself sometime this weekend to keep that thought going. What's my tendency here? And just keep edging it over towards more and more and more and more fun. So that's about it for today, everyone. I really, really appreciate everybody's blogs, and I really appreciate everybody being a part of this program and putting their heart and their soul into it. And if there's anybody on this call or anyone that listens to this that is feeling discouraged, or that maybe isn't really keeping up with the work, and the work is just a matter of staying present with what's going on in your mind and getting clear about who you are, then reach out on the blog, tell me, and I will be happy to write you back, and I'll be happy to assist you through this, because that's what we're all here for. In the end, there's only one thing going on, and that is this energy of love, and it's present in every single one of us. And each one of us, to our understanding of it, uses it and brings it forth. So my love, reaching out to you as love, what I know is that we are in this together, and we are making a magnificent, magnificent journey together. And I just look forward to more and more and more. So have a great week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Don't forget to have fun. Namaste.